20 minutes is the first sector Q1. That is going to be for all the competitors. Then for Q2, we drop a couple of competitors, effectively P13 to P8. We take the top 12 through to Q2, and they will compete in that session for 10 minutes. Then the top 5 from Q2 go through to Q3. They then do an individual lap. So one by one, they'll set their times. It gets a bit more complicated than that, if you haven't already lost me. We'll explain it as we go. Certainly Matt Neal, the expert alongside me, will do his level best to fill you in. We're on board with Gabriele Tarquini on his outlap. What's he thinking, Matt? What's he trying to do with the car here to generate or to prepare for his first flying run?
Well, Q1... Tom, it's going to be the most critical point of the whole weekend for these guys, because you know it decides whether you get into the top 10 or whether you're languishing at from 10 to 20 on both grids, which is, you know, it's going to really hurt your whole weekend, or whether you're into the top 10. And if you're in the top 10, you get the reverse grid, so you've got a crack at least one of the races. So it's a hyper critical time. Now there's a couple of really long straights on here, so do you go to work with a buddy and do some drafting, or do you try and find some clear track space and you know just get a clear lap in it? Looks like the Hondas are going to do their own thing and they're going to work as individuals. Maybe they're more comfortable with that. I think last year the Citroens worked in a pack, and it worked well for them. So it's whatever each individual driver, but you know it's always the old adage: your teammate's your worst enemy and your best ally. So it's the first guy you want to see and compete against. But Tarquini's obviously going for it on his own at the start with.
First across the line, Gabriele Tarquini. Will look at the live timing as the sector times present themselves. And certainly we saw Tarquini trying to hang on to the coattails of Ivan Muller in the first segment of FP2 earlier. He's flashing his lights because certain cars will still be on their outlap, Matt, and that's going to be a challenge for him. He is a fiery Italian, isn't he? But he's very, very focused. He knows what he's got to do. 53 years of age, and what he hasn't achieved, what he doesn't know, isn't really worth knowing in this sport, is it?
Yeah, it was interesting because you don't want anybody anywhere near you, so you are going to flash your lights even when they're in the distance. But I couldn't see anyone even remotely in the distance. Now they do flash the lights, the Hondas, when looks like he's got a bit of understeer turning into there. He's just having to wait a bit and put on a bit too much lock on. But interesting to see the lights flashing, because the lights flash when the pit lane speed limiter's on. So whether it's something to do with the map he's running or the boost he's running, or maybe he was changing the anti-lag system, which they work quite a lot with on these cars, maybe that was setting it off.
Plenty of electronics as the drivers ebb and flow around this 4.838 kilometre circuit. Plenty to concentrate on. It's not just about hitting the marks, there's the technical aspect as well. Gabriele Tarquini through turn 11. And this is a fast element of the circuit. Now he's going to be hard on the brakes into turn 13. You have to try and get the car stopped. We've seen Jose Maria Lopez struggling to get the car in. He's aborted that lap, Matt, so he may have a problem. You could be right. Into the pit lane comes the Italian. And we're on board with Rob Huff in that Lada Vesta, the car that's new to 2015. Is this going to put the Lada name back on the map? And Norbert Michelis, is that a suspension failure or puncture? It certainly looked more than a puncture to me.
Or
but
is it a wheels come off?
Yeah, well, it could just be a wheel off as well. That we saw Tom Coronel with a puncture in. He's lost his wheel. So, wow. Obviously, these tyres have been newly fitted in the pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like that's finger problems, that is.
That's going to do a lot of damage to the floor of that car. He's had to do a reasonable amount of the lap there. This is Lopez using all the road a bit more.
Good job he's not racing in the UK with the white line rules, eh?
There we see that right rear locking. Using a bit of curve, that'll destabilise the car ever so slightly through the final kink. He'll cross the line now to go. When we look at the time, it's Rob Huff who's quickest at the moment. And Jose Maria Lopez towing onto the back of that second Lada Vesta of James Thompson.
He's certainly not betting himself in lightly, is he? He's having to go right for out the box.
No,
but the times are quite slow at the moment.
Mehdi Benini is our quickest runner so far now on a 47.0. Then you have to look at the two Citroens of Sebastian Loeb. Ma Qing Hui is third. Then it's Tom Chilton in fourth. Rob Huff now down to fifth. The ever-moving conveyor belt of times that is Q1, as we see Michelis back in the pit lane. "14 minutes left in this first segment of qualifying, and this is essentially a dash for the first 12 positions. We're going to lose 6 cars from this segment, P13 to P18, and they'll be locked into that position for the remainder of the weekend for both races. So it's absolutely imperative, Matt, that you get into that top 12, that Q2 shootout.
Yeah, it is the most critical point of the weekend, this Q1. They've got to get through it. They've got to make it count. And as you were just touching on earlier, this middle pack, they've all upped their game. There's no hangers on at the back. So it's, we're going to lose a couple of big scalps in this first session, and they're not going to like it. It's going to be, it should be quite a good dust-up.
That's what we want to see. I've got a smile on my face. Obviously, we don't want to see any misfortune for everyone, but we want to see fast, frenetic, tight, fraught competition. And it's all about being inch perfect. Thiago Monteiro, he's been very good so far during the first and second practice sessions, and he's my tip to really get in and amongst it during this weekend.
Tom, I mean, this is only a 20-minute session, so time is of the essence. The pressure is on these guys, and with 6 minutes gone, only 13 left to go, Michelis is already on the back foot. They've got to try and check that car over, get a tyre on it. Okay, they can use preheaters, but he's got to suddenly, he hasn't got long to pump a quick lap in here. It's quite a long lap here.
Matt, through your own experience, it's all about setting the tone, isn't it? If you get off on the wrong foot, the emotions change, your approach changes, you start to potentially overdrive it. It can be a catalyst to further problems.
Yeah, and Lopez is not spectacular at the moment. He's out the top 12 at the moment, back in 13th place. So we could see he was really trying in the first run. He's not been good enough. But for some reason, all the times are quite far off. They're a good second and a half off they were in pre-practice. Now, whether that's because the temperatures come up so high, we're very warm. We're mid-afternoon here now. What they were saying about the track temperature. So that's all going to have an effect.
Well, yet to set a time is this man, Thiago Monteiro. This is his first flying lap of Q1. The rest of the competitors have been out. They're now back into the pit lane. We'll run through the top 10. It's Mehdi Benani ahead of Sebastian Loeb. Then it's Ma Qing Hui ahead of Tom Chilton. That's your top 4. Rob Huff, Tom Coronel, 5th and 6th. Then it's Ivan Muller, 7th. Stefan Daste, 8th. James Thompson, 9th. And Dusan Borkovic rounding out the top 10. It's imperative for Monteiro to get a good lap in here. And we saw Michelis out of the car there, Matt. So is that a bigger problem with that left corner than we've anticipated?
Yeah, it might have damaged the bottom of the caliper or the wishbone or something like that. Oh, it's big first sector from Monteiro. This looks very fast.
Well, he's backed off now. So has he got a problem? What's he doing?
Is there a flag or... No, he's not. He's
that wasn't Monteiro, was it? So my eyes deceive me. Or are they playing tricks on me? Because Tarquini... Was that Tarquini? Here's Monteiro. He doesn't look to be going too quickly,
Whether
does
he
he?
made a mistake or something, but it was a stellar first sector.
It was indeed. So it was definitely Thiago Monteiro. And he is going slowly. Is he going to go again, Matt? Or has he got a problem? Is he entering the pit lane?
I mean, the sector 1 ends at the end of... just at the end of the longest straight where they get the max VMAX. So whether he locked it up into turn 5, trying to nick a bit extra. Ooh, is that Huffy?
It is indeed.
Obviously, they've got the rear end set up on that Lada pretty loose.
He's looking down, trying to change something on that wheel as he warms the tyres up.
He doesn't look...
He's not sure it's underneath him. Either that or he's just scrubbing.
Yeah,
those tyres.
if he's got new covers out the blankets, they will, even though they're preheated, they will still have a bit of sheen of them. He's just trying to get a bit more roughed up a bit, get a bit more mechanical grip onto them.
Montero going again, so he's had to go again effectively with 9 minutes left on the clock. He may have lost the best of those tyres, but that said, this is somebody that we would expect, Matt, to be comfortably through to Q2.
Yeah, I was hoping on Montero for top 5, to be fair, but I'm sure he will be there, but he just needs a nice clean lap now.
You do panic. I talked about Michelis a second ago, setting the tone, the emotion. You go out, you do your first lap, you have to be cool, calm and collected to get back to your process and try and do it again.
You can hear the tyres screeching and screaming through there. Looks a good lap, this. Nice, clean lap.
It's a good balance, isn't it, Matt? And it's going to be interesting to see.
It's not as good on this first sector, though.
But he's taken the best out of those tyres, hasn't he? It'll be interesting to know what the drop-off is around this Termas de Rio Hondo circuit, and to understand what the temperature's doing in terms of performance. It looks as though you only get one lap.
With the heat, one of the main things they're going to problem is pressure, because they're just going to, the tyres are going to overpressure, and that's going to lose them grip. Let's see where Montero ends up
across the line. We're looking at his teammate Gabriele Tarquini in the second Honda Civic, the Honda Racing Team JAS squad. Bit of a mouthful for me. And again, flashing his lights as we look back at Rob Huff.
What, it's Rob Huff who's set the fastest front sector of anybody just yet.
So Montero up into third place behind Mehdi Benani and Sebastian Loeb now in second place. Rob Huff going very quickly. This Lada Vesta, I tell you what, I said it in FP2. This is good out of the box. They've only done 300 kilometers of testing before arriving here in Argentina. And Huffy's had a smile on his face ever since he got in that car, so that's got to stand for something. I mean, you get a feel for it straight away, don't you, Matt? You know, you've driven more cars than I've had hot dinners. You know straight away whether or not. Yeah,
I mean, Huff is in third place, but he's less than 1/10 of a second off being fastest, so it's mighty close up the sharp end of there.
He's backed off now.
Yeah, he's obviously, I think you're right, Tommy. They're getting one lap on the tyres.
So Jean-Philippe in the lone Campos Racing Chevrolet Cruze, making his way down the back straight, down to turn 5. Six minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock here for Q1 in Argentina. And I can confirm it is Mehdi Benani in the Citroën that is fastest, not a factory car, a Sebastian Loeb racing car. And that's interesting. Then it is Sebastian Loeb in the factory car in second place.
He's
How interesting is that? Exactly. And then you've got Rob Huff, who's third. Then the two Hondas, Montero, Tarquini, fourth and fifth. Tom Chilton pushing hard as he crosses the line in his Raul Motorsport Chevrolet Cruze. Where's that going to put the young Brit? He's seventh at the moment. And it's a personal best first sector there.
Yeah, he's still the lead Chevy, but we were hoping for a little bit more off Tom. He should comfortably make the top 12.
He moves up to 6th.
It's worrying how slow the times all are at the moment.
Not hanging on in the final sector, those tyres. Good first and second sector. Or did he just make a mistake? He was pushing quite hard into turn 13. Lots of tyre smoke.
Yeah, it's a good solid time, 47.5. It's a good solid time, though.
What's the Frenchman got in his locker as he dances on the steering through turn 1? And that's more Sebastian Loeb-esque through turn 1 than the traditional Ivan Müller.
Speed, though. It's all scrubbing. He's got that thing loose at the moment. It's going again. Both ways.
They have been struggling. I've seen Jose Maria Lopez struggling getting the car stopped. And look, Ivan Müller, what a sign of disdain from him. A raised hand in the cockpit, a shake of the head. He's not happy with himself there, nor what is underneath him.
Must be something down on the track, whether it's been put by one of the support racers, because Muller's not, I mean, he's obviously backed off this lap, but he's not safe. He's on the bubble in 10th. And we've got Jose Maria Lopez. He's down in 16th at the moment, and less than 5 minutes on the clock to go. Here
this
comes
is
Lopez.
what we want to see. This is what the fans want to see. Citroën under pressure. You could see the emotion inside that Citroën. Ivan Muller losing his cool already. He wants this, Matt, and he knows this is what pressure does to you. This is what a winter full of testing does when you get down to when it counts in qualifying. You really do need to have a cool, calm and collected approach to make it count, and boy oh boy does Jose Maria Lopez need it now. Down in 16th, the hometown hero, surely he can't go out in Q1. You talked about a big scalp.
Well, there's some big names. He's put in a very fast front sector. Not the fastest yet, but it would comfortably, if he could carry on this pace, but he'd comfortably be in the top 12. But it just depends how his tyres hold on. Just needs a nice clean lap now.
Ivan Muller's tagging on to the back of him. He's let Jose Maria Lopez through to finish his lap. Lopez will do the same, or Ivan Muller will expect him to do the same as the Argentinian crosses the line to complete that fastest lap. Ivan Muller's now going to be on a flyer. He's very much got to do what Thiago Montero did earlier on, because he's made a Horlicks of his first effort. As we see Dusan Borkovic, what a big frame he's managed to fit into that Honda, but he hasn't quite managed to fit into that Honda. Where is Jose Maria Lopez? 2 personal best sectors. He pops up and goes 6th with a session best final sector. So Jose Maria Lopez will be safe with
Borkovic
that.
has been through the grass somewhere. He's going to have to pull it in. That's going to be overheating the engine, and that's going to be...
As it stands at the moment, Hugo Valent 18th, he's not out. Norbert Michelis, he's still in the pits after his wheel fell off. Ricard Rydell, he's got to make it count. He's under real pressure here. Doesn't look as though he's managed to get anything going there.
He's on his outlap now. He's on his outlap. Yeah.
Dusan Borkovic, we've seen, he's been on the grass. He's in 15th. Gregoire de Moustier, 14th. Jean-Philippe, the lone Campos car, is... Well, he just dropped down to 14th. Borkovic has improved to 13th. And then Ivan Muller right on the bubble with Tom Coronel. We're watching the Frenchman now. What can Ivan Muller, 4-time world champion, do? He's going to expect Lopez to get out of the way, isn't he? He hits the brakes for the final corner. Lopez staying out for another effort. So the Citroën crew feel as though he needs to do that. Are they under pressure? Ivan Muller crosses the line with 1 minute and 55 seconds to go. You saw this last year, didn't you, Matt? The Citroëns together.
Yeah,
Where's
they were
Ivan Muller
working well. I don't think they're working together. I think they're almost a bit of, I wouldn't say gamesmanship.
Well, why is Jose Maria Lopez stayed out and then backed off? Was he towing Ivan Muller there? He can't be.
No, Muller's made it up to 8th place, so he's pretty safe at the minute.
So as it stands, Mehdi Banani still fastest, still in the pits. Sebastian Loeb is 2nd. Then it's Rob Huff. Stefano D'Aste up to 4th in the allinkle.com Munich Motorsport car. That's a good performance from Stefan D'Aste. Then it is Jose Maria Lopez. Thiago Montero in the Honda rounding out the top 6.
Rydell's backed off now. That's going to be him out, and that's not good for Rick, because he's not a midfield driver. He's
effectively at the back
act,
because he's the last of our runners, Matt. So it's not even midfield for him.
That's not a good start. He's just, I mean, the car did look incredibly loose.
He's got an opportunity for another go. Yeah, look, he gets the cutback. There you go. Wily old fox.
There you go.
Getting the run onto the straight.
One last throw of the dice.
This is it. Win it or bin it. On pole or around the pole for Ricard Rydell.
Well, the car looks a little bit of a handful at the moment, so he just needs a solid, clean lap. But I mean, I think he's going to struggle to make it into the top 12 now.
you can't get the car turned in. You see the rear of the car trying to break away all the way through that corner on entry. I mean, that's really hurt him through there.
Yeah, the way they make these cars go fast is that they work a lot like we do with the British cars with the four-wheel steering, and it's a very fine balance. You know, you've got to tread because overdoing it.
So checker flag is out. Gregoire de Moustier, he's in the drop zone across the line. Can he improve? It was a personal best first sector. The Chevrolet Cruze of de Moustier, the Craft Bamboo car. De Moustier over from Blancpain, so making his front-wheel drive debut. And he is not that quick in the middle sector, so just waiting to see his time.
Talking of front-wheel drive debuts, the one who's impressive is Stefano D'Aste, up in fourth at the moment.
Absolutely,
first time in a
front-wheel motorsport car.
Yeah.
I know, that flash suit paying off. And if you haven't seen his suit, I suggest you go on the internet and have a look at Stefano D'Aste's overalls. It's effectively a mock-up of a pinstripe suit, and he looks very, very dapper indeed. Ricard Rydell through turn 11 up to the kink that is 12, and then into the braking zone for turn 13. I don't think this is going to be good enough, Matt.
No, his front sector looks very lacklustre at the moment, and he just looks as though he's got too much oversteer on the way in, too much understeer on the way out. The thing looks...
Well, he's barely hitting apex all the way round, and that says a lot about the imbalance on the way into the corner. And Ricard Rydell, as you say, Matt, will be disappointed with that. Jean-Philippe, the lone Campos running car after Hugo Valent caught fire in FP2. He's down in 14th. He's in the drop zone, and I don't think this is going to be quick enough either for the Frenchman.
Yeah, I mean, Jean-Philippe, he is very young, and it's his first time in a proper in-anger race weekend in one of the new TC1 cars. So I think it is going to be a bit of a learning curve for him.
So as it stands, it looks as though we've lost Dusan Borkovic in the Pro Team racing car, Jean-Philippe in the Campos racing car, Gregoire de Moustier in the Craft Bamboo, Ricard Rydell in the Nika International car. Norbert Michelis had a wheel come off early on in that session, didn't make it back out. Hugo Valent not going at all. So as it stands, it looks as though we've lost those 6 drivers. At the top of the timesheets, it's this man on your timing screens, Rob Huff in the Lada Vesta, making its debut in terms of competition. An all-new car built and designed in Russia. Lada and the Russians very proud of it, and so they should be, because he has just topped Q1 here in Argentina, ahead of Mehdi Banani in the Citroën. Then it is Sebastian Loeb in the factory Citroën. You mentioned Stefano D'Aste. He finishes 4th. Jose Maria Lopez is 5th. And then Thiago Montero in the Honda, rounding out the top 6. Then you look at Marquin Hui, Gabriele Tarquini, Ivan Muller and Tom Chilton for the final top 10 positions. James Thompson, Tom Coronel in the all-important top 12 placings. They're safe. They will all go through to Q2. We've lost Dusan Borkovic, Jean-Philippe, Gregoire de Moustier, Ricard Rydell, Norbert Michelis and Hugo Valent. We're going to hear from Michelis, and he's going to tell us what went wrong. But just before that, Rob Huff. That was pretty impressive from the Brits. Let's listen to what Norbert Michelis has got to say.
Taking a little bit of shelter in this pit lane. A very unfortunate session for Norbert Michelis. Norbert, what happened there?
The wheel came off, the left front one. To be honest, I don't know what happened. As I came back, the guys told me that it's impossible to continue. I was on my fast lap. Yeah, it's not a nice feeling, but what can you do?
So did the wheel fall off, or the nuts actually shear?
To be honest, I don't know. I was not in a mood to go around. Just as soon as I had the news to climb out and that the session is finished, I just wanted to go away a little bit.
It's hot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard. Because before the season, usually you are optimistic. It's a good time to be optimistic, and the last thing you want to have is a wheel coming off during a flying lap.
Thanks very much.
Norbert Michelis down in the dumps there, and understandably so. The Hungarian will start from the back in tomorrow's race 1. The beginning of Q2, the second sector here in Argentina, is about to begin as we see who will make it through to the final Q3 sector for the first qualifying session of 2015 here in Argentina. The Termas de Rio Honda circuit certainly proving to be a tricky 4.838 kilometers to master, and a lot of drivers not happy with the balance right now and really earning their money out there, Matt, having to push quite hard and, well, to put it bluntly, hang on.
Tom, this is absolutely great. It's talk about a shake-up of the establishment. None of the, bar Huffy, who we were hoping as a dark horse to be somewhere in the top 5 maybe, you know, who's gone and stuck it up the front at the moment in Q1. Everybody's everywhere, aren't they? You know, you've got guys we thought we were going to be lower half of the midfield, right at the front, and we got big names with big name cars struggling in the middle of the pack. So at the moment, it's got all the recipe for a boatload of excitement, but it's not over yet. You know, we've just got through Q1. Were people just doing enough to get through, or were people really trying? The times are noticeably slower in qualifying than they have been in all 3 practices, bar the wet one yesterday and Friday. So temperature is a factor. It is very hot, so it'll be interesting to see. It's now there's no slackers. There's no slackers in Q2. So some big names are going to go in this one, and it's going to be great just to watch the next 20 minutes to see how they, or 10 minutes should I say, to see how they fight it out.
To see how they deal with the pressure. That's what we want to see. Drivers under pressure, drivers having to push and hit their marks and deliver the perfect. Excuse me, swallowed a frog. So just to contextualise, P13 to P18 has now been effectively decided in Q1. Those 6 drivers will be locked into those positions. We're now into Q2. This will, for both races, we're now into Q2. This will decide effectively P6 to P12 in the first race. Then it gets a little bit more complicated for the second race, and I might draw.
We need Martin Haven here to rant about it, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall I have a rant?
Yeah, you take over the mantle there.
Well, it took about a year of explaining for Martin to try and get it through to me exactly what we're doing, writing it down. But yeah, this decides the top 12, of which 2 will get bumped out, so they won't even get into the reverse. The top 10 will benefit from a reverse grid for the second race before we go to Q3 for the top 5 to shoot it out, which for the last year and this year get points for that final 5 places. So if you're on pole, you get 5 championship points, valuable championship points, down to 1 for 5th place. So it is a big factor. It makes qualifying more worthwhile because you're scrapping, and as Andy Priau always used to work on, you fight for every last point in the championship because that's what it can come down to at the end.
Absolutely. So if you had a pen and paper, you stand half a chance of working that out. If you're going to do it all on memory, you've got no chance. And someone who has now got no chance is Mehdi Benani, because he has parked that Sebastian Loeb Citroen in the gravel. Now, he has been going really, really well all weekend. He was very quick in the first segment, Q3. Red flag will be out because of Mehdi Benani's car, but nothing short of a disaster there, Matt. Talk us through the replay.
Oh, he just lost the rear on the way in by the looks, but maybe he caught a glimpse of the colour scheme in his rear view mirror as he was turning in, and it shocked him.
Yeah, he caught a glimpse of something, didn't he?
I mean, it's a shame because Benani's been he was really looking good for a strong start, and that's gonna roost the rest of his weekend, I'm afraid.
Red flag here in Argentina. We are a couple of minutes into Q2 for the first round of qualifying in 2015. And Mehdi Banani has rather innocuously parked his Sebastian Loeb Citroen in the gravel. That's going to open the door for the rest, because he's been sort of pushing that midfield along up to the likes of these factory Citroens, and certainly Rob Huff, Thiago Montero, they'll be pleased to see the back of Banani.
Well, they're also going to be pleased because it seems like Lopez and Muller have been a little bit on the back foot with their car setup, you know, with the weather conditions changing and the temperature climbing. So this might allow them just to take stock a bit, buy them a bit of time, have a chat, have a think with their engineers, you know, just give them a few valuable minutes which they can go over stuff, maybe change a couple of things.
So a couple of marshals there not wearing the FIA overalls that we live and abide by over here. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Matt. And I tell you what,
the one person who's going to be disappointed is Huffy, because at the moment he's got others on the back foot and the car's obviously running well, and he just want to get on with it, keep them under pressure while it, you know, strike while the iron's hot. So he's not going to be happy that they've got to wait now.
No, momentum is key, and getting that rhythm sorted. And you're absolutely right. The others not quite hitting their marks. Huffy is, so he just wants to keep going. It's a bit like having a lengthy stoppage in a football or rugby match, isn't it? It just gives the others a chance to control, alt, delete.
Poor old Mehdi Banani. He looks like he's having a bit of a cry, isn't he?
Oh, no, that's Lopez.
Oh, is it?
I think Lopez is just so hot.
Yeah, there'll be sweat coming down his brow.
You know, tell the viewers at home what it's like to be in a car that is essentially 60 centigrade. They can't see. Look, Ivan Muller, Huffy, they're cooking in there.
Yeah, I mean, some of them have got the cool helmets on, but because, I mean, you go to somewhere like Australia in the V8 supercars, and when it gets above a certain temperature, it is actually mandatory that they've got to run cool suits and everything. World Touring cars, it's not that way. And one of the primary reasons for that, in Australia, they're running long distance races. They're running 200, 250, 500 kilometre races. Here, because it's only a 20 or 30 minute sprint races and sessions, it's all weight, so you strip it out. But because these cars are so aero-reliant, there's no ventilation system in there. Literally, you're sealed up in a container. And, you know, when they go in-car temperatures between 50 and 60 degrees, to put it into Fahrenheit terms, that's like 130 degrees Fahrenheit. You're sat there in 5 layers. You know, your underwear's 2 layers thick, your overalls are 3 layers thick, you've got balaclavas, and it's like going and sitting in the sauna at the local swimming baths with all your kit on, and then having to do some work and concentrate.
Yeah, it sounds horrendous, and let's just lean across and see how the air conditioning's doing in the commentary booth. Without that,
should we turn it up a wee bit?
Yeah, we'd be in a pickle, wouldn't we? So, long time retired I am now, and Matt's still got all of that to look forward to.
Looks like Banani's left his car in gear there, which is not going to do it much good if he needs to dip his foot on the clutch.
He'll be kicking himself, won't he, Matt, because he had a real opportunity. We talked about pressure at the beginning of that session, about being perfect, about hitting your marks. Did the pressure get to Mehdi Banani? Because he was in a good position in terms of what he had underneath him and in terms of his pace and understanding of the circuit. That's a real chance that's gone begging for him.
It is frustrating. I mean, because, you know, these guys, they've got to capitalise while they're on a good run, and he's obviously in the groove. The car's working well for him. He's working well around the circuit, but you know, that's what separates some of the real class boys like the Lopez's, like the Mullers, you know, from the midfield guys. So he'll rue the opportunity.
Treating the biggest day of your life like it's any other. Mehdi Banani towed out of the gravel. Red flag conditions still here because of that man, Mehdi Banani, and his Sebastian Loeb Citroen being towed out of the gravel. We're going to head down to the pit lane.
You may have noticed just 2 larders here this weekend. On the entry list, 3, but Mikhail Kozlowski having to stand and watch. How frustrating is it watching your fellow drivers out there?
Yeah, well, I knew it quite in advance, so it doesn't feel like something special. But it's nice to see the cars at the pace both guys are in Q2 and fighting for Q3, so fingers crossed, and the pace is there. Rob won the Q1, so well, we stay really positive and excited about the upcoming weekend.
And in terms of what you're up to, how much information can you get from these two guys, or are you just on holiday and enjoying the sun?
I never on holiday, so of course I get as much as I can. All the data we analyze, and we see just all the problems that appear on these cars may appear on mine as well when they build it. So of course we analyze everything and gain as much info as possible before Morocco, because it's not the best track to start the championship.
That's for sure. Rob was fastest in Q1. What's the feeling amongst the team? Is that a surprise?
Well, I think it's just praise for the hard work for the last 3 years, and for everyone it's obvious that we did huge improvement during this winter, and well, it's a nice praise.
Good stuff. I think we're going green again.
Yeah, thanks.
Definitely on holiday.
Yeah, if you've got two choices, you either stay at home in minus 30 degrees Moscow, or you come to plus 30 degrees. Yeah, it's a hard one, that is, isn't it?
Exactly. Definitely on holiday. I'm going with that one. I know where I'd rather be. So
he'll be out the back of the garage with his Speedos on in a bit.
Qualifying about to begin here in Argentina.
You know, just seeing the in-car shot there of Huffy, you know, you would not be able to, you see the metal gear lever there, because it's all connected through the transmission, which will be, you know, just the heat will bleed back through there. You would not be able to touch it without your race gloves on, because it'd be too hot. It would burn your hand.
That
the
is
whole
incredible.
thing in there is incredibly hot. You know, we've had it so you burn the soles of your feet through your race boots, your Nomex race boots.
I just cannot believe how hot it gets in these cars, and with all of that engine heat wafting through as well, there's just no hiding place. You have to do your hard work in the gym in the winter, and I know, Matt, you've been training hard over the winter months, and we were talking about it earlier actually, and obviously the World Touring Car drivers preparing for their season, no different. There is no shortcut at this level. You really do have to be as fit as you possibly can.
Yeah, the one thing these guys really have to deal with is the heat as much as anything. You know, this year we've got races in, obviously, Argentina at the peak of the season. We've got Morocco, we've got Thailand, we've got Qatar. We've got some seriously hot climates for these guys to start enjoying, and we're going to get hotter than here, which is, for us to watch, it's great to see him under a bit of stress, a bit of pain, because that's what you want. You know, you want to see him under pressure, really, because that's going to split the really good guys from the ones who can't cope with it.
And you've got Northampton in March.
Fantastic.
Donington and the Honda.
I'll send you a ticket.
Exactly that, yeah. And looking to beat the Hondas is this man, Rob Huff. He was quickest in Q1. What can he do in Q2? That's going to give him a boost. He's had a smile on his face since he drove that car at Magny Cours, and it hasn't left. And he is a smiley character, isn't he, Rob Huff? He's a pleasure to be around in the paddock.
Yeah. Now the one thing here is Huffy didn't need a tow on his real hot lap before. So if he can find some clear space and he can pump in another one of those, then he's looking pretty sound for a top 5 shootout in Q3.
Here he goes. What's going through the driver's mind and body now as you start your fast lap?
He's just going to be checking as he pulls onto the lap. His brakes are there, his tyres are there. Just that he's going to be inch perfect on his brake marker. He's got to drive it absolutely to the limit, with the thing sliding but not sliding too much, because if you slide too much, you're starting to scrub the speed. He's literally got to be absolutely inch perfect to every curb, every apex.
The heart beat, the emotion, the adrenaline. I remember you used to get halfway around the lap and you realise that your tongue's stuck to the top of your mouth because you've effectively forgotten to swallow. It affects every driver slightly differently, but
I found more pressure in qualifying. If you get halfway around a qualifying lap and you're really on a good lap, that you start to hyperventilate.
Yes.
Because the pressure is so much on, because you've got to drive the car beyond where you think it can go with the tyres, or the grip you've got in the tyres, and that's really, really tough.
No, absolutely.
We've got a Citroen on his tail here now. Who's dropped onto the back of him to see if they can pick up a tow? Is that Muller?
It's a difficult one to pick out, isn't it? When you're Rob Huff, and I think I can't quite see, was the long shot when you're Rob Huff, you don't really want that, do you? Because you're effectively towing your rival around.
No, I'd imagine he's going to let him go. Or is he?
But the damage has been done. The longest sector here, sector 2, he's been towing Ivan Muller all the way around. And Muller's effectively using Huff, using his brake points, pushing that bit harder, driving into that free air, that line of least resistance along the straight. And look how much he's closed up on Rob Huff. I think Huff is almost trying to back him up now. Look, was that the case? Bit of gamesmanship?
Now, Huffy's sort of, I don't know.
I think he realised what he'd done and was trying to back him up.
No, surely not. Because it's odd because Huffy let him go down the straight, so he's basically wrecked 2 laps. And not his. If you let him go earlier, then he could have dropped him behind him, and it's quite a bizarre one, that.
It is indeed. 2 minutes left on the clock here after that red flag for Mehdi Banani. And if we look at the top 10, it is Rob Huff who...
I think our timing screens are just catching up a bit.
Updated yet, so just bear with us on that. We're looking at the Royal Motorsport Chevrolet Cruise of Tom Chilton. Tom's been there and thereabouts all weekend, driving very well.
Now we're getting down there. We've got Lopez in P1 with a 45.8, with Muller P2 with a 46.1.
And Muller, look, fastest final sector when he was towing Rob Huff. So Citroen 1 and 2. Then it's Thiago Montero in the Honda Racing Team Yaz car. Honda Racing Mark
Quinquamar in 1 in first.
Yeah. He's
found a new lease of life, hasn't he?
He has indeed. He was quick in FP2, wasn't he? And now he's delivering. That's impressive. 1, 2, 3 for Citroen. Then it's Thiago Montero. Sebastian Loeb is 5th. Then it is Tom Chilton in 6th. You're looking at your provisional pole man. Now that's James Thompson, who's down in... No, he's not in the drop zone, is he?
So Huffy's in the drop zone at the moment in 11th.
So Huffy and Banani.
Has Huffy got a problem? That's what you've got to ask yourself.
We're looking at his teammate, James Thompson, in the sister Lada Vesta. So you're effectively going to... Well, we're going to see 5 going through to Q3. So we talk about drop zones. This is where it gets complicated. This is where we're going to earn our money. But at the moment, it's Mar from Lopez, very tightly contested the top spot. Then it's Muller a bit further back from Montero. Loeb is 5th. Chilton is 6th in his Chevrolet Cruise. So out of that top 6, only 2 cars are not Citroens. 5 seconds left on the clock. Who's still on a lap? Pretty much everyone, but it's not looking very glamorous, that timing screen, in terms of green and purple sectors. So we might have seen what we need to see here as the checkered flag falls, because I don't think too many people are going to improve, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know whether Huffy's had a problem. But that's going to be very, very disappointing, that is.
He has to have had a problem. He's too good. He's too experienced. You know, we were talking about him towing Muller around, this and that, backing him up. That's sort of the sort of stuff you do in Formula Ford when you're learning your trade. Because, like you said, he started that lap and then really had nothing. Yeah. Has he lost some power? That's what it effectively looked like, I should say, because Muller caught him quite considerably over that final. He did. Final sector.
Yeah. So that does mean we've got a Lada on pole for race 2 with Tomo.
Mark Wing Hui, and for him, he'll be pleased with that performance because that puts him safely through to the Q3, which is 5 cars from Q2 that are going to individually shoot out for pole in the first race. Under part firme position conditions, James Thompson getting a handshake because, Matt, you're going to explain this now. He's on pole for race 2.
Yeah, the 11th and 12th we'll have to start 11th and 12th for both races now. The last top 5 of the 10, so 6 to 10, will start 6 to 10 in race 1, but they will start 1st to 5th in race 2, reversed. So whoever's qualified 10th will be on pole, and whoever's qualified 6th will be 5th. The top 5 then go into a Q3 where you score points, and that will determine. They will start from 6 to 10 in race 2, so that is determined. But their obviously their shootout position will determine their starting order of race 1 and the points they get for qualifying.
So it's a bit more simple for race 1. It gets a bit more complicated for race 2 as we listen to Ben down in the pit lane.
Red flag situation. Rob Hull fastest in the first round, but in Q2 only managing 11th. Jimmy Thompson, though, 10th, means pole position for the start of 2015. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really pleased for all the boys. You know, we worked so hard to be here with a new car. The timescale being as short as it was. Obviously, new cars last year we had till April. So to come here is a fantastic reward for the new car and for the boys. But from my side personally, we're battling with a few new car gremlins, but that's the reason I'm so hot. But it was fantastic, just what we needed. Pole position's pole position, and sorry for Rob because obviously he had the true pace. In all reality, we sort of limped through the session and ended up. But you know, make your own luck sometimes.
All right, so 24 hours away from now is the race. Will you have a car that can complete the race and be competitive to get a podium?
Yeah, for sure. The engine's coming out, and there's a few things not quite right, not quite happy, shall we say. Not there's an engine problem, but that's the first time the car's done any more than 8 laps. So everything needs a good check, and there's a few things moving around. So
I should explain also that you've just wet your head. You're not that sweaty, are you?
I am.
Thanks very much, Jimmy.
All right, cheers.
So Tomo inheriting that pole position. He's pleased with it. A pole, it is a pole at the end of the day. I know you're not
down here in the pits
that keen on it, but let's listen to what Tarquini says.
To the year for you, it feels.
No, an average. I mean, I had also not a good pace last year in this track. I struggling from yesterday to find a good setup. It was my best choice for the setup. I maybe make a big mistake on the third partial time, and for this reason maybe I'm not on the top 5. But unfortunately the Citroën has different pace at the moment. So the gap still there, and it seems quite big.
There seems to be quite a big difference though between you and Tiago as well.
Yeah. But from yesterday, I mean, he's very happy with the setup, and he was just in front of me, make a good lap, no mistakes, and this is the result.
It is how it is, and he's sitting in 4th for Q3, so fingers crossed for him, I guess.
Yeah, I hope he can be in pole position. I mean, I will push him from the pit wall.
Thank you, Gabriele.
Q3 about to begin here in Argentina for the first round of this qualifying, and this will decipher where we start from P1 to P5 in the first of tomorrow's races. It's a one-lap shootout effectively, so Sebastian Loeb is the first out on track to do it. He's got to do it all alone with the world's eyes watching on him. We've talked about pressure in Q2. This is, we've seen a few drivers make a Horlicks of their first effort in Q1 and Q2. Can't afford to do that here, Matt.
Well, if anybody here should be good at doing one-lap wonders or one-run wonders, then I guess Lowe. But let's have a see what Tom's got to say.
I'm happy with fastest Chevrolet by, 1.6 seconds or something. Which is awesome, but apparently before the red flag, when I had to then go again, if I put my best sectors together, I was up for P2. So we found something this weekend in the car. You know, we did 4.5 days winter testing, but we still took a little bit from each one and then did a bit more work this weekend. So I'm happy, but we still have a lot of work to do to try and catch up with the Honda and Citroën.
Right, focus on the top 5 shootout.
He's a happy chappy, Tom Chilton, and recently a father, enjoying that. But as we look at Jose Maria Lopez in the pit lane, this is who we want to be looking at. Sebastian Loeb, he's on his out lap now. He's going to enter turn 13, and it's imperative he gets a good exit here onto the straight to start his flying lap. Sebastian Loeb in the factory Citroën car across the start and finish line. Onto the brakes into turn 1. No mistake, don't lock those wheels. It's important to get the car into the apex. Get on the throttle early here. Build the momentum down into turn 2. This is another tight corner that comes back on yourself. Really working the front tyres hard here, Matt.
Yeah, ooh, he's working it. He kept it nice and tight through turn 1 and into turn 2, but it's just catching him a bit, whether it's the four-wheel steer working against him, but he's driving it hard at the minute, which it's hard to keep track from our timing screens because they're just running a bit behind the car on the lap at the moment, but we'll see what the best we can do.
Without doing Sebastian Loeb a disservice, hasn't quite had the pace of his teammates, just a fraction of a second away from them in the sessions that we've seen so far, but this is where the form book kind of gets scrapped because it's who can do it under pressure really that counts.
Yeah, we've got his sector 1 up now, and it's pretty good. It's about 2/10 off the best yet, so it depends how the others cope with the pressure. You know, we've obviously just got 1 lap, heats up, so if he can do a nice clean finish lap. It's loose on the way in there again, isn't it?
He's just having to get out of the throttle. You can hear the tyre scrub. He's not able to get all the way back to full throttle when he wants.
Probably keeps on going for the handbrake on those hairpins. That's his problem. Oh, that's not so good. He's got to keep going. He's going to have a bit of muck on his tyres now, though, so he's just got to be careful through there. He's going to be kicking himself in that cockpit.
That's a real Madonna moment, isn't it? You just got to keep going when it all goes wrong. And on the grass is familiar territory for Sebastian Loeb in terms of grip level. It's not going to do anything for his overall lap time, and a 47.0 is not what he wanted when he set out on that fastest lap. So that's Sebastian Loeb. And next up, we will have, if we look at Thiago Monteiro in the Honda Racing Team Jazz Civic. Montero, somebody I've tipped to get in and amongst the Citroën runners. We've still got Ivan Muller, Jose Maria Lopez and Marquin Hui in that order still to come.
Now, just get another slow shot of Loeb there. He'd been running it right up to the limit of some of those curbs on earlier in the lap. So he just stepped a bit too far, that one.
Going for gold in the final sector, and it was a bit too much, wasn't it? Thiago Monteiro will not be looking to do the same. It'll be interesting to see what he can do under pressure here.
Now, the good thing here is they've really got nothing to lose. You know, as long as Monteiro can put a half a lap together, then top 4 is easy, but the worst you can be is 5th. You're locked into your top 5, so that's not a problem. So they can throw caution to the wind, and he wants to throw everything at this, but rear of that Civic does look loose in there as well.
In the front wheel drive cars, it's all about trying to get heat into those rear tyres, isn't it, on these out laps? They do have the tyre warmers, but you know more than I do, Matt, that's the real challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they still do. I mean, when you get the new cover out of the mould, they used to have what you call the release agent on them to get them out of the mould and just make it a wee bit slippy, but I mean, the tyre manufacturers have got around that, but you still get the sheen of the fresh tyre, which you just need to rough it up a bit.
So Thiago Monteiro through the long turn 11. This is where Sebastian went grass cutting. Now he's going to hit the brakes into turn 13 and start his all-important qualifying lap. A very important 1 minute and 40 so seconds ahead of Thiago Monteiro. So he crosses the line a 1:47.6 for Thiago Monteiro. And now we'll have Ivan Muller. So what we were seeing there was Monteiro actually pushing. It wasn't an out lap, that was actually him on a flying lap. So the cars actually running quite closely together here in this final segment at Q3. That's Sebastian Loeb. He's already out the car. He's done what he needed to do. He is ahead of Thiago Monteiro, who had a very good final sector, but let himself down in the first and second sectors.
I think the first sector was about the same as Loeb. It's the middle sector he lost it all, for whatever reason.
Now it's Ivan Muller starting his flying lap.
We can always expect something, a good attacking style off Muller. Likes a loose car, so if it's a bit hairy on the rear end, on the turn in, he doesn't mind, he can catch it.
He'll drive anything that you put underneath him.
He wasn't 10 times ice racing champion for nothing.
Exactly, he's got that Trophy Andros experience underneath his belt. Down now, the long back straight into turn 5. Pick a braking zone, make sure you get the car stopped. You have to get it in to the apex because you have a long sweeping turn 6 coming after this. It's a left-hander, we're in that corner now. Full throttle up to turn 7.
This looks quick. This looks quick, that looks absolutely spot on.
Running quite wide there, Matt, but he still got on the throttle, that's important.
Yeah, very quick first sector. And he's been extremely tidy since then.
What can he do through turn 11? Here we are. Gave that curb plenty of grace, didn't he?
Yeah, he's just got to, if he can keep it under control into 13, this is going to be a real good benchmark lap for the others to have a stab at.
And this is what it's about, isn't it? Doing it under pressure. Ivan Muller, he's not a 4-time world champion for nothing. When it really counts, this man can deliver, and he crosses the line with a 46.7. That is very quick. That's 0.3 quicker than Sebastian Loeb, his teammate. Next up is the hometown hero, our reigning world champion and Argentinian superstar, Jose Maria Lopez. What can he do over his lap? Ivan Muller goes quickest of all. Sebastian Loeb is second. Thiago Monteiro is third. Jose Maria Lopez and Marc Quinqui still to go.
That final section looked like you ran wide. What happened out there?
I went wide. No, I was a little bit too fast. I got some oversteer in the fastest corner of the lap, and I lost a little bit the rear. So I went wide and finished the corner in the grass. So that's not the best way to do a good time. So I think I lost a lot on that.
Tell me, Loeb, this time last year you were seeing 2014 as a practice year for 2015. How do you feel now about that?
Yeah, right. I hope the experience I took last year will help me this year to be more competitive, even if I know that last year I finished third behind the two world champions, so it's not maybe with 1 year that I can beat them, but for sure I will try.
Absolutely.
And try he may. That was a really good lap from Sebastian Loeb. Didn't realise at the time quite how good it was. But had he not run wide through turn 11, Matt, I think he could have been right on the marks with Ivan Muller.
To finish only 0.3 behind Muller, which did look a really good solid lap when Loeb was on the grass at about 150 mile an hour, all four wheels. Oh, this is a quick lap.
Jose Maria Lopez going purple so far. Purple signifies quicker than anybody else. Green is his personal best sector. And then a black lap time is something to not write home about.
This could really demoralise the rest of the field. He is just smashed the first sector lap time.
And he's on it through turn 11. That's what we want to see. This is fully committed from Jose Maria Lopez. Gets the car stopped. Yes, he does. He gets on the throttle. He's through the final curve, through T4. 1:14. It's all numbered around this Termas de Rio Hondo circuit across the line, and that a 1:45.4.
Yeah, that's quite impressive.
That's different level. Where's he been hiding that so far? Because I think if I was Ivan Muller or Sebastian Loeb, I'd be looking at the timing screens in sheer disbelief, trying to pick my jaw up off the pit lane floor right now, because that is seriously impressive. We talked about doing it when it mattered. Jose Maria Lopez has just absolutely smashed the time of Ivan Muller to go quickest.
Well, I have to say, it is nice to see Honda up here. I'm sure, Tiago, you'd obviously like to be higher up than the other boys that are standing here right now. But it is good, isn't it, nonetheless?
It is good, of course. I mean, it looks like by the times we are getting closer. I mean, we're probably not up there yet to fight for pole position, but we should be much closer. I made a mistake in turn 5, so my lap time is not representative. I'm a bit pissed off about that, but you know, you're pushing hard, you're trying everything. That's the moment where you have to push. So it looks like we're closer. Let's see tomorrow now in the race.
And it really would be for both myself and for the audience out there. It would really be nice to see Honda give Citroën a run for their money.
Well, that's what we're here for. I mean, we don't like seeing them. We want to join them and play with them up there in the podium. So we don't like seeing them leading and dominating. We need to do something about it. We've done a lot this winter. Let's see if it's working out.
You're the wildcat amongst the gazelles. Go, Tiago.
Wow.
Well, this is the final shootout for pole position. Marco Hui, as we listen to Tiago Monteiro, there is on his final lap, and he's going to have to really go some to dislodge Jose Maria Lopez from that top spot, because what Lopez has just delivered is a serving of something pretty special to his competitors. Marco Hui's been quick though. He's a race winner, so he can do it under pressure. As Ivan Muller, Sebastian Loeb, Tiago Monteiro look on. He's not quite quick enough.
That's a good. I'll tell you what, that is a good first sector.
Not as good as Jose Maria Lopez, but you're absolutely right.
Oh, he's on the grass. Tell you what, he could still get a front row with this, though.
This is it. Can Marco Hui secure pole position? Can he secure a front row spot and challenge Pachito in his backyard? He's going to cross the line. The final car in this qualifying session crosses the line. Marco Hui in his factory Citroën, and we await the time. Oh no.
No, he lost it in that final sector.
That final sector has hurt the Chinese driver, and it's actually a second row spot. He goes to 4th. So it's Jose Maria Lopez and Ivan Muller on the front row for race 1 tomorrow. Then it is Sebastian Loeb and Marco Hui on the second row, and then Tiago Monteiro will be on the third row. So that is our top 5 for this Q3 shootout here in Argentina. And it's fair to say that that man has conquered this Termas de Rio Hondo circuit. It's a 4.838 kilometre circuit that he knows really well. He was unstoppable here in August last year. And we come to Argentina for the first round of the 2015 championship. He's the reigning World Touring Car Champion, and he's put down a marker to say, if you think I've relaxed one bit from last year, I haven't. He's hungry and he wants to succeed and defend his title. And he's set the tone well, Matt, hasn't he? As we look at Marco Hui running wide on his final sector effort, very similar to Sebastian Loeb.
Yeah, most notably, Lopez continuing to carry his lucky number 37 through from 2014 success, foregoing the number 1 world champion banner. So, yeah, he just wants to keep his lucky 37. At the moment, it's working for him.
Yeah, don't change anything. Don't cut your hair. Don't change your underpants. Don't do anything. No, he's not that superstitious. Only keeping the number is what Jose Maria Lopez needs. He needs a whole lot of natural talent and natural ability. He's got that in abundance, and he's a pretty cool customer, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a big stamp for Citroën on the opposition, isn't it? Citroën locking out the front 2 rows of the grid here.
I mean, 2.1 seconds the difference between Thiago Monteiro and Jose Maria Lopez. I know Lopez is 1.2 seconds ahead of his teammate Ivan Muller, but that is absolutely huge. I think we're going to go down and speak to our pole man, because Alexandre Legui has got the young Argentinian by the scruff of his neck to have a word with our pole sitter for tomorrow's first race, which will be live here on Eurosport.
Here we are again. Pachito Lopez up here on pole position for Argentina. Have you considered slowing down so your teammates can catch up?
No, they did a mistake. I think they were a little bit lucky, in fact, because I think anyone but me did a clean lap in Q3, in King of 3. It looked like that, you know. It's not possible to have more than 1 second in difference, but you know, it's fantastic to start the season here, and I felt, you know, quite relaxed and with a good car. I just, as I say before, I'm trying to do the same, and you know, thank you very much to everyone. The team did a fantastic job again. You know, I think we are 4 Citroens in top 4, and so always it's much easier when you have a car like this. So thank you very much, Citroen, and season just begin, but believe me, it's very nice to start with a pole position.
It certainly is. Thank you very much, Chito.
The forever gracious Jose Maria Lopez saying he was lucky, but ultimately he put the others under pressure and he delivered when it mattered most, and that's the psychology of it. So I think that was far from luck. Jose Maria Lopez, our quickest runner in qualifying here today. Ivan Muller, Sebastian Loeb and Marquin Hui rounding out the top 4. Then it's Thiago Monteiro, Tom Chilton, Tarquini and Stefano D'Aste rounding out the top 8 here in Argentina.